I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you're doing well. Welcome to another live office hour stream. Make sure that my audio is coming through because I just kicked the cords a little bit ago. And that is good. All right. So, welcome. It has been quite a week for me. Hopefully it's been a good week for you. Sorry about missing the book study stream last night. It was crazy few days. Alyssa was feeling great, full of energy though, like all, I have her half the week. So the previous 3 days that I had her by last night, it was, she was doing this thing where she was so full of energy bouncing off the walls, and she would quote lines from movies. And then she demanded that I recite those lines in Goofy's voice because that's her favorite Disney character. And it was just incessant. It was just like one after the other, after the other, after the other. After a while, it's like, eventually when she goes to sleep, that's when I can do my work, and man, I was just wiped. And then we're also doing some renovations because where Sound Engraver and I are going to live after the wedding is it needs a little bit of changing around. The place that's it's like a second kitchen right now is going to end up being my office. So I'm moving things out and trying to adjust all of that. And it got to the point where last night I messaged Al. I was like, Al, do you have it in you? Because he'd gone to a doctor trip yesterday, and he's usually pretty wiped after doctor trips. And I said, do you have it in you to stream? He said, well, I could do it. I said, well, I can't. So had to just call it. But all was well. I am really recovering quite well from that flu, maybe COVID, who knows what it was thing. The Sound Engraver and I had. Poor Sound Engraver is still just, she's better, but she's still just so wiped. That's what makes me think, even though the home test said negative, I'm imagining it's probably was some sort of variant or strain that it didn't catch, because it just behaved like unlike any other flu we'd ever had. And for it to be still, hanging around Sound Engraver this long, it's still a little bit in my head. You'll hear me cough occasionally. But anyway, that's what's going on. Talk more about that in a bit. But I do want to welcome the chat because I got a couple super chats here. Eldritch fan, thank you, sir, was the first one. First one in with a super chat for $5. Appreciate that. Said, what would it take for you to watch and review Prism's fan film rewrite of the Star Wars sequels? They're titled What If. Title was awesome. Oh, so like What If Star Wars was awesome. I've never heard of that ever. I'll look it up. If it's pretty lengthy and long, I'm not in a place right now, especially with work and planning for / saving for the wedding and all of that. Not in a place right now where I can watch anything lengthy and review and put together anything just yet. But I'll check it out. I'll look it up, and if it's something that strikes my interest, and maybe I'll talk about it on a live stream or something. It's interesting. Welcome to Ghost Planet Max Inc. 1.0. Yeah, Ghost Planet, you brought up something that really hurt my heart a little bit earlier when I heard it today. The passing of the great amazingly talented Arlene Sorkin. I am just, that one hurts. And it hurts because, not because I knew her personally. You know, when a celebrity passes, it's always sad when anybody dies, right? But sometimes people will act like, oh, I'm just so gutted. I can't believe so and so died. And I'm like, well, I mean, they were old as dirt. Not this isn't the case in Arlene Sorkin's case. I'm just talking about celebrities in general. Like usually these people were very old. It's not like a tragedy that they died too young or anything. It's sad that anybody dies. I'm not taking away from that. But to hear some people go on about it, it's like what were they giving you that you are missing now that they're gone? It's still sad that they died, and their deaths are often a good time to remember and celebrate their great work and everything. But some people just go on and on. It kind of makes it more about them than it does about this poor person who passed away, you know? Um, but I say that to say that there are some celebrities who pass, and it's extra tragic because they still had a lot of work, great work that they could have given us, right? I felt that way about Darwin Cook when he passed away. That gutted me. I was like, oh, comic industry desperately needed more from him, you know? And I feel that way about Arlene Sorkin as well. You know, I don't know. I haven't heard interviews with her lately, so maybe her voice was different or it aged or changed her in some which way. But she was, no one has ever topped her Harley Quinn. Arlene Sorkin was it. She was Harley Quinn, not Tara Strong, not any of the ladies from the Big Bang Theory. None of them can touch Arlene Sorkin. And it always kind of bugs me when people act like Tara Strong is she is the go-to Harley. Now she does a fine job, not insulting her take, but nobody touches Arlene Sorkin. And you know, if you don't know the different Harley voices, she was the voice for Harley Quinn. She originated the character on Batman the Animated Series. She was the voice throughout, I think, all the DC animated definitely all the Batman shows. And I think every time like Harley would show up in the Superman or Justice League, it was Arlene Sorkin as well. She did some of the movies. She did the last thing I know of that she voiced Harley Quinn was in Batman Arkham Asylum, the video game, and it was so wonderful. And in fact, if you played the games back to back, you can tell a striking difference. You can tell a striking difference from Harley in Arkham Asylum, and then you play Arkham City, and it's boom, it's Tara Strong. And again, Tara's a fine, you know, she does a fine job, whatever, but it's just not Arlene Sorkin. Arlene Sorkin had that playfulness. It was just, you know, so much has been lost in the character of Harley Quinn. People have drastically forever altered her costume. They forever altered a lot with her personality. The woke agendas have seeped in, and her voice portrayals are just never as spot on as they were with Arlene Sorkin. So rest in peace, Arlene Sorkin. That is very sad news. I was bummed to hear that. So yeah, I agree. Thanks for mentioning that, Ghost Planet. Welcome to Brian Gilmartin. Spidey Rules. Good to see you. Chat jump there. Leia Plus Size. Great to see you there. The Imaginative Hobbyist. Mr. D-Man 21. Studio Super. All the usual suspects here. Darth Enigma. Final Fantasy fan. Great to see everybody. I think I got another super chat or two right off the bat. Haven't even started the topic for the night. Super chat's coming in. Dr. Y, thank you for $5. Says, okay, Prof, we're going to need to hear your goofy voice. My goofy voice, huh? I mean, what do you say? What do you say? Alyssa likes to do this thing where she loves the goofy movies, right? The Goofy movie and the Extremely Goofy movie. She loves those. And she likes to trick me a lot, or not trick me, but she likes to pretend that she's playing a joke on you, and she'll say something wrong, and then she wants you to be like, that's not right, it's this or whatever. So when she's getting me in the goofy voice, she'll say that Pete's going off to college, you know, because the Extremely Goofy movie was about Max and PJ and Bobby going off to college and whatnot. And she'll say, Pete's going off to college. And I'll have to say, Pete's not going off to college, Maxie is. Gorsh. Get it right, Alyssa. That's my goofy voice. Hope it was worth it. Hope it was worth the super chat, sir. Yeah, it has been quite a week, Darth Enigma. It's been crazy. Yeah, I'm feeling much better. Thank you, Roberto. There's still a little stuff in the head, but that's not unusual for me. If I have a cold or a flu or something like that, some of the congestion stays around for a while. I just have a real bounce back immune system, Poor sound engraver. We went to mass this evening, and she was just like, she couldn't even stand anymore. She'd go sit in the lobby again. She's taking a while to fully get over it. Poor thing. Dances with incels. I like that. I like that. Screen name there. Thank you for $5. Says, hey, Prof Geek, just wanted to show support. Your critique of the Mario movie was super based, but Jack Black was perfect for the role. Who was Jack Black again? Was he Bowser? I forget who. I was just like that, not interested in the movie. That I know he wasn't DK. That was somebody else, Seth, whatever his name is. You know, bringing up the Mario film though, it's interesting because the guy who, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but the guy who traditionally does the Mario voice, it's a me, Mario. You know, he is announced recently that he's retiring, and I'm seeing a lot of channels already. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. I'm like, whatever. You didn't care about him. You were more than willing to roll over and shake your junk for Chris Pratt in a heartbeat. You couldn't replace that guy fast enough. You just wanted to squee all over, let the new Mario is here. And now you're pretending like, oh, it's such a tragedy. He's retiring. Like, no, you don't get to have your cake and eat that too. No, not going to happen. But maybe Jack Black was great. I'm not arguing with you, Dances with Incels. You got me on a tangent, so I'm going off on, that's how these things roll. Movie quotes in the goofy voice. Leah Plus says, yes, I have to hear them. Luke, I am your father. Luke, I am your father. I don't know. It's hard when you get me cold and I haven't had a chance to practice a little bit. But yeah. Yeah, Tara Strong does a good Harley. Nathaniel Loseball says, but in Arkham City, she sounded a little less manic. Twilight Sparkle. A little like manic Twilight Sparkle. Yeah. I mean, she can do it well. She can be passable. But just no one touches Arlene Sorkin. It's so sad. Studio Super says, if my info is correct, the character was made after her. You're right. You are right. Paul Dini created the character. Now it gets billed as Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. Bruce Timm gets a little more credit than he deserves on a lot of things with the BTAS and the DCAU altogether, if you ask me. Not that he didn't have something to do with it, and he deserves credit to a certain degree. But no, Paul Dini was writing the script. It was the episode, I forget the name of the episode right now, but it's the one where the guy driving on rush hour cuts off the Joker and flips him off or something like that. Not literally, because that wouldn't be in a kid's show. But then he realizes that, oh crap, that's the Joker I just cut off, or I just, yelled at and road raged at. And the Joker's like following him, and it's that episode. And the episode progresses to the point where Joker has a little gang around him. And Paul Dini thought it would be cool, as he's writing the script long before Bruce Timm even gets, wind of this. And he thought it'd be cool if Joker had a not just henchman, but a female, henchman or underling as well. And I think he was college friends with Arlene Sorkin or something like that. They'd known each other at some point. And she had done a scene in a soap opera once. You can actually look it up. If you look on YouTube, look up Arlene Sorkin jester outfit or whatever, you'll see the scene on a soap opera. It was some kind of like dream sequence. And Arlene Sorkin showed up in a jester costume in this dream sequence for this character in the soap opera. And for some reason that just inspired Paul Dini. And then he created this character, Harley Quinn. And Bruce Timm did go ahead and do the visual design for it. And he deserves credit for that, taking the cue off of Dini's description there. And Paul Dini, just invented the visual there. But, and then it comes across that she used to be Dr. Harleen Quinzel, which is great. But they really go, once they really just kind of sunk their teeth into this tragic, abused love interest kind of thing. I mean, part of that's good. Mad Love is a great comic book, but it's only a matter of time before the woke get their hands on that and just ruin it, But yeah, good point. There's my sound engraver. She was talking on the phone with her sister. Good to see you there. I know I'm a little bit behind in the chat. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats. Oh, Dr. Y likes the goofy. Okay, worth it. Good. Glad that was worth your super chat there. Yeah, Goofy movie is a classic. I like the Extremely Goofy movie too. I think that doesn't get enough credit. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Let's another super chat here before I start. $4.99. Please, in a goofy voice, say, I'm done yucking around. Apologies, but your goofy voice is too good. It's hard to go cold like that. I'm done yucking around. I don't know. It's not all sound that hard. I can do Mickey for a few seconds and then I lose it. It's hard to stay up in that register. But to start off with, oh boy, that's pretty simple. But yeah, Goofy's just easy. Goofy's so easy. All right, let's get to the topic at hand a little bit, and then if you guys have other topics or whatever you'd like to talk about, feel free. But I'm kind of venting a little bit tonight. I'm an adjunct professor, meaning that you're kind of like the migrant worker in college. Adjunct professors are paid peanuts for what you do, and the system knows that, but the system doesn't care. You're one rung above a graduate assistant. Now, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and there have been a couple instances where I was offered a full faculty professorship to move up, and then tenure is very rare. People don't even really get tenure anymore, but you can be a full faculty professor, which is just, a full-time job basically. And I turned it down, not without, kind of a heavy heart in a way, but I turned it down because I knew, and it turns out I was right in doing this, I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep the job because the way the universities are becoming today, you have to really embrace a lot of this ideologies and woke agenda, and you have to work for it, fight for it, and actually actively, embrace that religion. And let's just be honest, it's a religion. You have to actively embrace that religion or you can't keep your job, And you would have I'd have to serve on diversity committees and inclusiveness and all this kind of nonsense. So I said no. I remained an adjunct professor because I love to teach, and just had to realize I was not going to get paid as much as I should for it, and that's fine. But because of that, I had to start grabbing up different teaching gigs at different universities when I can. The one thing they do for you, it used to be that you could grab up as many classes as you wanted to, as you could feasibly teach from a university. But after the Obamacare kicked in, people were acting like, oh, it's so great. Now you see, you adjuncts will get health insurance now, because no, we didn't. All the state universities decided to do at that point is say, you can only teach this number of classes, because if you teach over that number, then we'd have to give you health care. And we're not giving you health care, so you can only teach this number of classes. So yeah, Obamacare really helped us out. Great. Yeah. Got a lot on my chest about this stupid system. But anyway, I'd go to different universities, pick up classes and whatnot. For the longest time, I'd been teaching classes at two different universities, and then tutoring papers in a different online university in their writing center. Now this one of these universities, I'm going to talk about them a little bit. I'm not going to say their name just because I can't quite bring myself to say their name, but I really don't care if you know, and it's pretty easy to find it out, honestly, just from the things I'm going to say about it. It's a private university out of Florida who actually has in-person classes. They've got various campuses around Florida where they do in-person, but they also have an online campus. So they do, and a lot of universities are doing this now where they're just teaching, people can just go take their classes online. That's been coming up even before the pandemic, but especially since the pandemic. A lot of our universities are doing that. So I started teaching on their online school, and they had a weird way of doing it. The first red flag about this place was that they compressed their whole semester into only 4 weeks. And the idea was that their students only take one class at a time. Now that, 4 weeks is just no, you cannot learn an entire class worth of material in 4 weeks. It is impossible. I know that some summer classes at different universities are compressed. And, I took a literature course that was, I think a couple weeks or something like that one time in my undergrad, but we had to go there every single day and spend a couple hours every single day. It was boot camp. And now it's getting to the point where they're just shrinking these classes down, and they know that the content is missing. They're kicking content to the curb. They don't care. What I've found that universities, they want the money, and they will, this particular university, this private university out of Florida, So that was the first red flag. I'm going to get ahead of myself. That there was just a 4-week class, but whatever. I needed the money, paying for a wedding, so okay, I'll teach this. So I'm in there and I'm learning the ropes and everything. And they assign one of the professors there to be like the mentor for every new professor, because it doesn't matter how long you've been teaching. In particular, if you're new to that school, you have to know how they do things there, and that's fine. So and then when the mentor's showing me things, he lays it on me that, by the way, if a student doesn't show up, if a student's not doing work every week, you have to go and try and contact that student. You have to call them first. Make sure you call them, because that's a good way to show compassion. And then email them and reach out. And when you're reaching out, make sure that you're letting them know that you're there for them. You're in their corner. Is there anything you can do to help? Blah, 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 blah. Now, this is a 4-week course. If a student doesn't show up for a whole week, they've effectively missed an entire quarter of the semester. And I'm supposed to reach out to them to see if there's any way I can help them make up. This is college. This is not daycare. This is absolutely absurd. But the way they contextualized this, they said, you're supposed to be their academic advisors as well as their professors. Okay, first of all, you don't pay me enough to fill 2 roles. Okay, that's ridiculous. Second of all, this is college. If a student can't see their way to show up to the freaking class that they paid for, then they fail. I'm sorry. What is so hard? Now, I'm not some heartless jerk, okay? I know that, like, especially during the pandemic, that was valid, right? You had to relax some rules during the pandemic. I think the level of fear mongering that the government and the media did over COVID is just absolutely criminal. But regardless of whatever the real dangers and stakes were at all, the world did change, and it changed to a point where people were really hurting. People were losing their jobs over all these quarantines, and people, not being able to see family members and all these tragic things. So yeah, it was merited to show a little compassion and flexibility with the rules and stuff like that, for students going through that. 100% get that. But they're acting like this is just a way of life. And what I found out was this particular university, and I don't think it's just exclusive to this university. I think a lot of them out there are doing this, as I've researched and found out. They go after the type of students that have no business being in college to begin with. As I started teaching there, I would get students who couldn't speak English, like could hardly speak. And I have nothing against somebody who can't speak English. Hey, if you can speak a broken English, you're speaking more in a foreign language to you than I could in a foreign language to me. Bravo, I applaud your efforts. But you don't belong in a college class, much less a college English class, if you can't speak English. That's just a hard no. That's screw compassion. That's just an impossibility. You can't pass an English writing class if you can't speak the language. And this wasn't a remedial and English language speaking class that I was taking or teaching. This was like college writing, like college composition. It's not fair to the other students who can't speak English. It was ridiculous. And what I found out was this university, as well as a lot of other universities out there, are going after those type of marginalized people who really aren't qualified to be in college. They go the extra mile for them. They make sure they help them. They hold their hand through these processes. They try to strong arm certain professors or parts of the university to just let them through certain ways, because they want their money. Now, these students don't have money, right? They're in life situations where they can't afford college, so they help them out of the goodness of the college's heart. They help them get their student loans. They help them get those student loans. Who benefits from that? The college. The university gets that sweet, sweet student loan money. And then the student who isn't equipped for college, who 9 times out of 10 is probably going to fail out anyway, is now saddled with all these loans. It's ridiculous. And these colleges try and come out of it and act like, we're so compassionate. We care. We try to give people an option for college who it might not have been a possibility for. Aren't we so altruistic, and aren't we so heroic? No, you're dirty scum of the earth. You want money and you don't care. You'll victimize these people just to get it. It's ridiculous. And they try to push it on the professors to make sure you're holding their hand, make sure you're calling them, make sure you sing. Is there anything? No, that I am not your nanny. I'm your college professor. If you can't stand up, sit straight, and play ball with college, then you don't belong here. You don't deserve my calls and my, is everything okay? It was just absurd that they would do this. And it was weird too, because the The deans know it. And they play this little game, like the deans, they'll contact you and say, so-and-so seems to be having a hard time in your class. Is there anything you can do? Now, that so-and-so student, and this happened a number of different times, had already said, is there any way I can make things up? This is like week 4, and they haven't done anything all through previous 3 weeks. And I say, no. Look, you can't show up in the last week of a 4-week class and pretend to make things up. It's not going to work. But the deans, they'll cry to a dean, and the dean will contact you and say, is there any way you can help so-and-so? And a couple of times, I just laid it out on the table. I said, look, this student hasn't done 3 weeks of work. Do you want me to let this student make up a 4-week course in 1 week? When you really lay it out like that, the dean backs down. They're like, oh no, of course you can't do that. But they didn't want you to lay it on the table. They wanted you to just shut up and play ball and let the student pass, let the student get another loan for the next semester. That's what they want. It boils my blood how they do this. And they're pissing all over the adjunct professors too, because it's just more work for us that they're just going to throw a few peanuts at you for. It's ridiculous. It's and it's not just indicative of this one college, okay? It's a lot of universities out there, even the more traditional state universities, in-person universities. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I see a couple of super chats here. I want to make sure I'm not missing. Studio Super for $4.99 said, these days, having a degree doesn't make you smart. It just means you're highly trained by whoever taught you. Well, see, that's the thing, Studio Super. It doesn't even mean you're highly trained. It depends on where you went. It depends on what kind of professors you had. It could just mean that you went into debt. That's all it means. It used to be that if you were in college, decades ago, you were, oh, that's a college man, that's a college girl, they know their stuff. You should see some of the dumbasses, and pardon my French, but it's just there's no other way to say it, that are in college today. A lot of them are in my classes. It's just there are some wonderful students in my classes too, as I say, but it's being in college doesn't mean anything. It doesn't even remotely pertain to your smarts or anything like that now. It's anybody can go to college. Anybody. Doesn't matter your abilities, your capabilities. You can not even speak English, and you can get into college, and you can find the right people to go be a bleeding heart to or whatever, and you'll just squeeze right through. It's absurd. Dr. Y for $5 says, the Christian college I went to had a special missions at the state university to help teach foreign students English. Yeah, and that's great. I mean, a lot of universities too. I think I might have mentioned this on a stream back in the day. I've taught at universities in which like a state university or something, for example, they want the diversity points, right? This is when affirmative action was still the thing, and this is why they're kicking up a screaming because our affirmative action ended, which it should have ended. It's great it ended. But back when it was still a thing, the school could get more funding if they made sure that they had enough diversity, enrollments and all of that stuff. So they would go and get students from different countries, and they had these programs, and they would bring over, like, let's say, Korea, for example. That's just one of the many different countries that this would come from. But, students from Korea or whatever who didn't necessarily speak English. I know a lot of foreign countries do, they just grow up learning English too. But this wasn't the case. They would bring a lot of students over, didn't speak a lick of English. They would put them through like a month-long boot camp during the summer, like a foreign language, English language learning boot camp or whatever, which is, probably good. But then after that, they would just drop them in my college composition class. So then I've got students who grew up at the high school down the road, as well as this person over here who, hey, God bless her or him or whoever they are, they're trying to get an education. They seized upon this opportunity to come to America. I have nothing against the student at all, but the student can hardly speak English. And I'm supposed to teach the same material to this student who can barely speak English as to this student sitting next to them who knows English just fine. That's an unfair burden on the professor. It's an unfair burden on the student. I'm not a remedial English teacher. I'm a college composition in that situation teacher, or college English literature, American Lit teacher, or whatever, depending on the course. It's insane. It's insane how they do this. I want to show you something now, because you might just think, oh, you're talking about your experience. Maybe you just worked at some of the wrong universities or whatever. This came about quite recently. A a lot of schools now are, they'll give you, when you teach a certain class, and this is fine, this is how universities work. If you're paid to teach this specific class, then the university or the school at that university will have some certain parameters, some certain learning objectives and everything like that that they want students to get out of that class. Okay, fine. So they'll give you like a sample syllabus or something, and it doesn't matter how long you've been teaching there. They'll give you a sample syllabi, all fine, that's fine. And every so often the committees get together and they revamp and change a little bit and tweak a little bit what they want students to get out of these courses. Fine, whatever. But they give you these sample syllabi. I saw this in the suggested language. A lot of universities are doing this, and they're getting it. This is one such source that they're getting it from. I'm going to share the screen here. This is the University of Massachusetts website. Okay, I don't work at University of Massachusetts, obviously, but this is their website, and it's a web page on their site entitled like how to create a syllabus. I'll show you here in a second. Let me share the screen. And a lot of universities out there, including some of the ones that I've worked at, are sharing this website to try and get you to like, look, see this information here about the syllabus? This is good stuff to follow. This is good stuff to follow. So, how do I write an inclusive syllabus? An inclusive syllabus. It's important to write an inclusive syllabus. It's syllabus. Syllabi are supposed to be dry. They're supposed to be, all these, write inclusive language, use soft, welcoming language. Don't say learning objectives. Say this. This is nothing but a 100% dumbing down of academia, because the universities don't want students dropping out. Students are stupid. They're becoming stupider and stupider, and they're dropping out. And universities, instead of saying, you guys need to work, come on, buck up, this is college, they're saying, let's just dumb down college so those students don't drop out and we can still get the money. And if you think I'm lying, look at this. There's a lot of ridiculous nonsense in this page. I'll drop the link in the comments for a second, but look at this one here. Look at this here. Use flexibility for attendance and deadlines as appropriate. Fixed deadlines and strict mandatory attendance policies often function as barriers to student success. Think about when deadlines and attendance truly matter. Where can you offer flexibility through built-in extended time for exams, quizzes? What freaking reality are we living in right now? Look at that. Fixed deadlines and strict mandatory attendance, they often function as barriers to student success. So what is happening here? Idiot students who can't get their freaking butt out of bed and get to class, or can't take responsibility for their gripey little lives and get an assignment in on time. Heaven forbid they have to obey a deadline that's just training for life. Tell their boss, hey, boss, these deadlines for these projects, they're obstructing my ability to succeed in the career. Are you kidding me? Try that at a job. This is utter nonsense. But because these students just can't get work in on time and they're failing out, that's serving as a barrier to their success. So as a professor, can you just like not expect them to turn things in time? Just like, let them turn it in when they want. This is insane. This is abso-freaking-lutely insane. This is the world you live in. This is college. This is the University of freaking Massachusetts. I'll put the link in the chat here. And it's not just the University of Massachusetts. Colleges everywhere are referencing this webpage or pages like it and trying to push this philosophy on their professors. And there's more silly stuff in here. There's more like, make sure that you use their pronouns and make sure and use language that says, I'm here I want to affirm your identity. So make sure that, I have the name that you've chosen and the pronoun. Look, it doesn't matter what you think about transgenderism or not. Okay. You can even be like, you can think transgenderism is great. It's wonderful. And we need to, whatever. The point is, a college professor is not there to affirm your identity. A college professor is there to teach you their subject. And that is it. That is it. This touchy-feely daycare center BS and it's been creeping into the college world over and little by little by little by little. And now it's this. Now it's don't make them turn things in on time, okay? Because that's scary. I mean, it is. I keep saying absurd and insane. I don't even know what else to say. Is this the Twilight Zone? College has become daycare. And it is like that because the colleges, they want that money. They want that admissions money. So they will go out and try to show the parents, mommy and daddy, rich mommy and daddy who are going to be paying for these college students when it's students right out of high school. If it's adults coming into college getting loans, that's a different thing. But they'll want to make sure these mommy and daddies know that they're going to very much care for your kid. That's okay. Bring your kid here. We're gonna wipe them and burp them and feed them, and we're gonna make sure that they get their A's, and we'll have stern words with the professor if they don't give it to them. This is college. So screw your degree. What does your degree mean anymore? Your degree means nothing. Maybe you did some heavy work and blood, sweat, and tears for that degree. Maybe you did, but just because you have a degree doesn't mean you did it all. It means that you skated through a system that's just willing to dumb things down to get people in and paying the money and out. It's ridiculous. They're even all right, when a student has a disability, and a lot of universities are doing this, and this is a good thing. The student has to, go to a certain department. Depending on the university, they'll call it a different thing. And they'll say, they'll like register their disability with the university, basically. So a student can't just show up and say, I have ADHD. I need more time to write this exam. It has to be something that's like on file and logged. And then that department will talk to the professor. So the professor knows students aren't just trying to like pull a fast one on them. And that's fine. That's fine. Okay. If it comes to a person with a learning disability, maybe needs a little bit more time than other students would to take a test, fine, whatever. I had one student one time who, I forget the name of the condition that he had. It was like a hypotension kind of thing where if he stood up too fast, he would pass out. His like blood pressure would like plummet. And, so they told me about it and they said, look, don't freak out. Don't call 911 if it happens. It happens to him all the time. And I was able to know that. So I could allocate, I was able to build in a little bit more time at the end of that class to make sure I could just hang out with him a little bit if he was having difficulty standing up, and he would have his food for blood sugar or whatever. And it was fine. It was fine. So like stuff like that's good. The professor needs to know that. That's fine. But now these are the kind of disability requirements that you're getting now. So-and-so has trouble taking notes in class. So could you like maybe have another student take notes for them? Maybe you could designate a student in your class to be the official student note taker. And then, they can give out the notes to all the class. And if you can't do that, then maybe could you just provide the notes for the students? I'm sure there might very well be a very valid learning disability at the root of somebody who says, I can't take notes. Okay, there might be a valid disability at the root of it, but I call BS on anybody saying that I just can't taking notes is hard for me, so I shouldn't have to take notes in this class. Then you shouldn't be in a college class. I'm sorry. This is like basic college learning. You're going to have to take notes. Maybe you don't take very good notes and you want to bring your notes to me at the end of class and like say, hey, did I get everything you were saying here? And I can work with you. I can try and supplement it for you or whatever. Fine. But that's what they say. Can you designate what person in class wants to be the designated note taker? This isn't kindergarten. They don't feel special for that. That's just extra crap work you're asking somebody to do. So what it falls to them wanting the professor to write, not only design a lecture, design assignments, design a lesson plan, but now the professor has to take notes on their own lectures and hand it out to the students because it's hard for them to take notes. College is meaningless. Screw your college degree. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It's a joke. it's a joke. I used to, kind of feel some sort of pride saying, yeah, I got 2 graduate degrees and, undergrad degree and all this kind of stuff. Now it's like, whatever. I'm just another one of the idiots that went to college. And again, of course, I'm not saying everybody who goes to college is an idiot. Obviously, I mean, I did work really hard for my degrees, and I did, earn them. I feel like, and I know a lot of other people do. But this is what the system, and it's not just like something new that popped into the system recently. It's been growing like this, step by incremental step, and a lot of it comes from the woke nonsense. Some of it comes from students or from schools just wanting to make money. And then some of it comes from, I don't know this for sure. Okay, but what I've got up on the screen there, this, fixed deadlines and strict mandatory attendance policies often function as barriers to student success. I don't know this for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if that came from, I'll put that link in the chat that I forgot, if that came from this notion that you've heard recently, like I didn't even look into it because it was just such a stupid, absurd idea, how having to be on time is white privilege or something like that. Did you guys hear about this? Somebody saying how, keeping strict schedules and having to be on time, well, that's just white privilege or some nonsense like that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where this kind of thinking is coming from a little bit. I don't know for sure if it is or not, but this is the kind of nonsense that is out there. It's I don't even know what else to say. What else can you say? Like I've shown you all this stuff, and there's no excuse for it. And it's like, how can an even though like an academic professor who worked full-time or tenure or whatever, or somebody in the administration or whatever, even though they would of course try to defend any of this nonsense, on some level they have to know it's BS. They have to know it's BS. This is just so that the school can earn more money. And if it victimizes these students in the process, whatever. Shut up, get your student loans, give it to us, and we'll make you feel nice and warm and cozy while you're here. And then you go get a job and tell them about how deadlines are kind of an impeding barrier to my success. So that's the world, folks. That's the world we live in. Darth Enigma says, my professors were accommodating of students with disabilities, but they didn't have to hold our hands. This is just sad. I know. Like I said, hey, people have disabilities. And they're all across a spectrum of them, and if professors can do something within reason, that would help you out, great. Like I said, a student has trouble taking notes. Well, they still need to take notes. But if they feel like they're not really getting it all, then come to me after class and I'll help them with it. That's what a professor can do. You don't just tell the professor, so can you take notes on your own stuff and then give it to them? That'd be great. Okay. I know that we pay you enough for that, you adjunct. I mean, it's absurd. King G says, I had a debate with a TikTok guy on Luke's character change, and let me say the guy's reasonings for Luke being the way he is had me laughing at him on stream. Yeah. Achol 980 said, my dad taught one important thing in life: don't go to college. Well, you really have to ask yourself, do you need to go to college? Is it smart for you to go to college? Because there are trade schools, and God bless trade schools. You don't have to go to college to be a plumber or an electrician, a car mechanic, lots of these trade schools, and heaven help us if we didn't have good plumbers and good electricians and good, so is what you're going to do, does it require college? And if it does, instead of just figuring out what college you can possibly get into, you've got to start looking at what college is actually going to give you an education. Now, I know that there are some Christian colleges which would actually be worth their salt a little bit more because they don't pay any attention to this kind of woke nonsense. I used to think that private schools in general would be better, but this one university I was talking about was a private school out of Florida. So, screw that idea. Private schools are just as greedy and bad as, I think it has to, if they come from some sort of Christian perspective where they've got a worldview that's not, this absurd culture of ours, it's a little more likely to actually make a good education out of it. But I did talk about college a little bit a couple streams ago, Andre, but some more things happened, and I just had to get it off my chest. Yeah, Final Fantasy said they want to take down anything that has structure, because these clowns are the most miserable people on the planet. Yeah, structure. That's like patriarchy and stuff. That's white privilege. We can't have structure. And I mean, I even think, I don't know this for sure because I'm not out there. I'm not out there in every field, a professional field, and I don't know about every, like, maybe college in the sciences. Maybe it's different. Maybe like engineering schools. Maybe they don't really go by this nonsense. Maybe I think that some of this stuff is just from the administration down. So I think it doesn't matter what school you're in or what field you're in. I think it's going to touch into this some work. But maybe it's different. I mean, I would hope that you're going to med school, you don't get to slide by like this. But especially in the humanities and the liberal arts, there's no education to be had. This is all the nonsense there is. I think when I was talking about academics or colleges, before, I was saying that how there's no such thing as going to learn to study like literature or art or anything like that at a graduate level, because you don't actually study the literature or art. All you do at the graduate level is study how you can use that literature or that art or whatever to be a tool to forward this political theory, this political agenda, Marxism, feminism, transgenderism, whatever. That's post-colonialism. That's all you do. You don't actually study the literature or the art or the films or whatever. So yeah, I mean, like the liberal arts, that's a joke. Maybe an undergraduate degree at the right universities, fine or whatever. But fine arts, that's different. That depends on where you go. Like I'm very proud of the Master of Fine Arts degree I got from Spalding University, but it's a different thing. Divinit Alkayan said, no one person ever asked or wondered if I should go to college. And I can tell you, it pisses me off to no one did. I had no business being there. Yeah, no one asked, should you be in college? Should you be in college? Because everybody needs to go to college. And again, it's because they'll try to pretend that, are you telling you don't want opportunities for everybody? Oh, how heartless are you? When they don't have a big bleeding heart. They just want people to come so they can get the money. That's all it is. Leah Plus says, I have dyslexia. I did qualify for accommodation, so I was allowed to take notes with a tape recorder and did very well. Exactly. Yeah, take notes with a tape recorder. Great. Fine. Perfect. Things like that. There are real disabilities and real accommodations that make sense, but the school doesn't really want to look into that. The school doesn't want to have to work. If they can just put it off. And what's so devious about it is that the school will stop short of saying, don't make these students do this work. You just do it for them. They'll stop short of literally saying that, but they want you as an adjunct professor to connect the dots and go ahead and do that. That's what they want you to do. They won't necessarily say that, but and if you don't really play ball here with this little adjunct, hey, we can just not hire you next semester. It's really pathetic. It's absurd. Gunnar Tolkayan says, college has become in society what a doctor who put every person with lower body injury in a wheelchair. It fits the same circumstance, but it's not a one size fit all. Yeah, definitely. Going back up and just looking at comments. Spidey Rules says, Prof, these people think needing an ID to vote is white privilege. Nothing surpasses me. Yeah, exactly, right? Nathaniel Losball says, at times the system feels like it's King Nebuchadnezzar demanding you to bow down and pray to the idol. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this whole... right now, as of right now, no one has ever told me that I had to put some of this language in my syllabus. I don't have to provide my pronouns. And no one has straight out come up and told me that I have to use a student's preferred pronoun. I haven't yet been told that. Now the situation is yet to come to the forefront where I haven't like the issue hasn't been forced in any of my classes, especially since I teach online. It's kind of like it's not like I'm there in person seeing, clearly that's Jimmy with lipstick on and a wig or something. It's not, I'm not in that kind of setting with them, but but it's only a matter of time. In the academic world, this is how it works. Today's suggestions are tomorrow's requirements. That's just because it's incremental. They're progressives. They're progressing towards a utopia. So it's that they'll try to budge a little bit a little farther, and then just mandate this stuff. And it's already to the point, even though no one is ever, and I mean this, it's not just my experience. I mean the system itself, at least in the places I've worked, aren't coming out and telling professors that you need to provide your pronouns, you need to do this. They haven't quite done that yet, but it's already a climate in which people kind of raise their eyebrow at you if you don't. Why aren't you, you don't want your students to feel inclusive? You don't want, you're already being, seen a little bit as the odd man out. I mean, what, don't tell me you voted for Trump, right? I mean, are you evil? Is that what you are? Is that what you're trying to tell me? You didn't provide your pronouns in your email sign off. Does that mean you're evil? I mean, those are the only two options for these people. Oh, what else did I miss here? Spidey Rule says today's suggestions are tomorrow's mandates. Sounds like the government. Yeah, right. I mean, that was the whole pandemic pretty much. This is interesting. Andre Hernandez says, if you're wondering if you need to go to college just to succeed and you're genuinely not interested in college, don't bother going. It's not worth spending a lot of money and you can still succeed. Yeah, I was going to say this a second ago, but I kind of interrupted myself and got sidetracked. I know of people who have even obtained business degrees, well, Sound Engraver herself, she does have college degrees, but she's talked about it on her stream and she'll, verify it here in the chat. She worked someplace once. I forget, they were selling, it was like a industrial kind of sales place she worked at when she was living down south. And she was just hired as like a temp secretary. Now she had her music degrees and everything like that, but she didn't need music degrees to get hired as a temp secretary, right? You can do that, whatever. So she was a temp secretary, but she stayed on there. And she got a good reputation with the project managers and the people that worked around her. And they were impressed that she was staying. They were impressed that she was doing a good job. And pretty soon they offered her, did she want to be a project manager? Did she want to go into sales and be in that business, which she took no college courses for whatsoever? I don't even think they cared about her college music degrees. They just knew her and she had proved that she was a good worker. And now she didn't want to do it. She wanted to, keep doing music and do her own thing. But you don't necessarily need a degree to be offered a good position somewhere anymore. It used to be that way. It did used to be that way. It used to be that everything was so competitive. And if you don't have a degree, you are so not getting this job, It's just not that way anymore. And I think it's not that way anymore because the workplace is seeing how stupid so many of these students with degrees are. They're getting these college graduates, into their work world and realizing, oh my gosh, did you even remotely take a class? I tell all of my students when I teach college writing, I tell my students at the beginning of each semester this story. I met this one guy at church one time and we were just talking, getting to know each other. And he said that he owned a couple of different accounting firms in the area. And, I told him I teach college and writing and literature. And he said, man, we need some good writing teachers. And he said, because he will hire college graduates a lot at his accounting firms. And he said, they come in and they've got great grades. They've got the right degree. They've got wonderful references. They come in and they ace the interview, process. And he said he hires them. And then it comes time for them to write their first office memo. And he's looking at this memo that they sent through email going, did you even pass middle school English class? What do you even know what a paragraph is, for crying out loud? I mean, that's just the way people, that's people's level of ability today in the actual professional world, to say nothing of college. It's absurd. Yeah, Sound Engraver is verifying that in the chat. Yeah, stayed 3 years, got a promotion, declined it though for music. Yeah. Private Eye in Retrospectiva says, I went to uni to be an architect. Not for everyone, but still, it was a public university. Professional architects were the teachers, and I barely paid a cent. It's why I don't get the U.S. system. Yeah, the U.S. system in particular is really stupid like this, but I think it's in probably worldwide universities too, to a certain degree. Yeah, and that's like being an architect. Yeah, obviously you need some education for that, so you find the right school for it. Studio Super says, got autism. My college had a program for that stuff and put on their best smile faces until I said the wrong thing politically. Boy, those higher ups got scary when they knew what you thought. Oh man, that is so true. That is so true. Yeah. It's kind of like, Sound Engraver talks about sometimes she's a young woman who works in music, or does music, is a creative in the music field. And every now and then people will automatically just want to support her. Like when she was on Twitter or something like that. Oh, you're a woman doing music. That's great. And then they find out that she's not like towing the liberal party line. And they're like, you're a woman. How can you not think this or whatever? I think some people with disabilities are sometimes thought of in that same way too, especially if a person's on the autistic spectrum or something like that. Oh, but you're supposed to be, one of the good guys, one of us, and or whatever, and have the right political or something. I wouldn't be surprised if that. Yeah, I think that's an interesting. I'm glad you shared that. Andres, interesting. Does this situation make you want to quit being a professor or teacher? How do you find work when you are these unfair requirements? Well, this is probably something I'll wrap up with because I am kind of lose steam a little bit. But I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, this did make me. I've quit the private university in Florida. I'm teaching my last little 4-week semester for them, and then I'm out. Because I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not holding people's hands. I'm not going to be their daycare center teacher and their college professor. No. And they don't pay you enough for it anyway. Even if you didn't have a problem with it philosophically, they don't pay you for that. So I do think my days are numbered teaching college, at least the way I've been teaching it. Again, as of so far, no one is coming out and telling professors, you have to do this, you have to do that, but it's getting there. Every day it's a little bit more required, So I think my days are numbered. Now I also tutor through another online university's writing center. And I love that. I like tutoring and helping people's advising papers, and helping people write better and stuff like that. That doesn't pay as much as professoring does, but it's pretty good work, There are some Christian universities online, but I haven't seen any job openings yet, of anything in my field yet. Who knows? God will lead me where I need to be. And if that's still teaching somewhere that I can actually feasibly teach at, great. If it's doing something different, if it's doing something else, then that's great. Actually, this reminds me, this is kind of a nice segue. I didn't plan this, but let me pull up the speaking of money, some people have been asking me, and I have gone ahead and relaunched my Patreon. People have been asking me about it, and let's see, come on. Okay, yeah, let me share the screen here. Let me share the link first, and then I'll share the screen and walk you through just some things I've got on there, because I've got channel memberships, and hey, I dearly appreciate people who are channel members, but I haven't really offered like perks, for a channel member necessarily, because it's just something that I haven't really wrapped my head around. But let me share the screen. I did go ahead, and I used to have a Patreon and sort of knew what I was doing, but not really. But people keep asking me about it, and I thought, well, okay, I could offer some extra content and stuff. So I've got the Patreon up. I've got a couple different tiers, and I'll keep mentioning this on all of my live streams and book studies and whatnot, just to see if they're interest. But for $2 a month, you can just join the community. You can have access. I'll do a weekly Q&A, weekly live Q&A, weekly updates, at least, probably a longer monthly Q&A, where we can talk and stuff like that. You don't require I read comments in a live stream, of course, but there get to be so many people here that sometimes I can only get to the super chats, reading. But this would be different. You can also vote on different content, coming up on the channel and so forth. That's the Titans, right? the leaguers, the JLA leaguers, right, are that's $6 a month, and it's the same thing as the community, weekly updates and whatnot. But there'll also be monthly stickers. I've got a lot of stickers from like some of the fan art, some of the Geek Stooges. I've shown you guys some of the stickers I've got, plus some of the artwork that people have done for my own fiction and whatnot. So yeah, probably like at the end of each month or the first of each month, I'll probably starting in October, I'll start sending out stickers, it's a sticker a month or whatever as well, just to have something kind of tangible. And then, well, lastly, I thought I've played around this before one time. I just revamped this and opened it up last night, but editing services done through my Patreon. I think that's a little bit better way to do it, at least for me to keep track of it. And this is a pretty great deal. I've got $25 a month, and you can kind of come and go from this tier as you need to. If you only have something that you want me to look at for 1 month, then you can be a Legionnaire for 1 month and then go back to being a Titan for the next one or whatever, But $25 a month, all the benefits of the previous ones, the sticker, all that stuff. But I'll edit 10 double-spaced pages of any one of your manuscripts. So, free editing services there, 10 pages, double-spaced pages, and that's for $25. That's a pretty sweet deal when it comes to editing and stuff like that, and professional editing. So anyway, yeah, the Patreon is up. I'll be talking about that more. If you guys think of things that could make it a little more friendly or whatever, or effective, things, services, or whatever you want, let me know. We can work that. Yeah. So Eldritch Fan says, is any of your fiction available to purchase anywhere? There should be some, I don't know if these, I haven't checked it in a while, if these anthologies are still available, but I have short stories out in a lot of anthologies. On Amazon, let me see. Yeah, okay. So, Firebringer Press, I had some short stories in three of their short story anthologies. Here's one. I've got one short story in this short story anthology. They did a series of 3 anthologies, which were Eternity, called Eternity. Oh, it's not letting me share the link because it's too long. You go on Amazon, you look for a book called Meanwhile in the Middle of Eternity. That was one of the anthologies. Another one was called Somewhere in the Middle of Eternity, and another one was Elsewhere in the Middle of Eternity. Three anthologies that they did that my fiction's there in. The nonfiction superhero inspiration book, that company went under during the pandemic, so that's not available for sale anymore from them. I do have the rights to the book again. I'll probably revamp it at some point and try and get it out there as something. But yeah, so Kaya, need any help making stickers or shirts? Well, I'm not doing shirts, but stickers. I thought you can just order them batch from someplace. But if you know any tips or tricks, yeah, feel free to let me know. Matthew Flynn said, this is confusing. You're talking about college, but I would understand college and university as 2 different things. Yeah, you're in England. It's different. It is somewhat different in America. I don't know the whole situation. I know it's somewhat just the academic world, period, globally, but I'm no expert on the university system across the pond there, so maybe some of the things I'm saying don't apply, to where you are. But yeah, I know that isn't there like sometimes the words even mean different things. Like I know in French, if I'm remembering this correctly, college is can even mean something separate. Like university is like what we would call college, interchangeable or whatever. But it can mean different things in different countries as well. So yeah, might be confusing you there. That makes sense. Mr. D-Man said, I'd better off just being that custodian who could draw. Hey, nothing wrong there. Definitely. All right, guys. Well, I'm out of steam. And it looks like I'm over my hour mark anyway, which is why I'm out of steam. I'm like setting me a timer. Just click. So yeah, but one thing, whoever, I forget, was it Eldritch fan or somebody asked about where my fiction can be purchased. Whenever I do put out more fiction compilations or anything like that, I will give discounts to Patreon members. Also, when I get that online course through Teachable up, I'll get a discount as well. Again, it's hard right now saving / planning for the wedding because there's so much going into it. We're hitting the last stretch of getting the last money together and stuff for certain things to be paid off, and the renovations to where we're going to live is a little, man, I gotta get that going, gotta finish this that. We're not going to finish all the renovations in our place. We're gonna do certain things. We have a couple different renovations that just need to be done before we're married and move in there, but some things we're just going to kind of do over the next year or so, so trying to take as much pressure off as possible. But it is a stressful, pressuring time, that's for sure. But yeah, I will check out the Prism things. Eldritch fan, I appreciate you telling me about it. I'll try and get to those. But yeah, Sound Engraver wanted me to tell you that she's not doing a stream tomorrow because her poor computer finally died. It sort of died last year, and she tried getting another one, but it wasn't the right one and stuff like that. And you might remember that. But no, now her it's just dead. She can't even do her music composition right now. So she's working on getting another one. She'll hopefully have in September. But for the time being, she's not doing a live stream on Sunday. So just to let you guys know that. Studio Super, one last super chat here as I'm out the door. If you ever need anyone to do art for you with your Professor Geek character when it comes to Patreon headbanners and icon art, I'm always available. Yeah, let me know, Studio Super. Send me your prices or whatever, because probably will need. I've got some things in mind that I'll need some art for here and there. As things come up and roll on. So all right. Oh, Eldritch fan said they've got your taste sets of taste back. I do have my taste back. Thank heavens. Oh. I can taste Diet Pepsi. I can taste pizza. Thank goodness. That's back now. Things are okay now. It's going to be okay now. I can taste again. All right. Thank you folks for hanging in there, letting me vent and go off on all these things. I'll definitely cut some of this stuff out as its own video. We will be back Friday with the book study I should have had yesterday. And I'll be back again for more live stream stuff to come. But thank you guys for hanging out. Always a pleasure. Good hanging out with you guys and hearing your thoughts as well. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.